And we're live, brother. How you doing, man?
Hey, pretty good, man. I don't know why that's going to get in my headphones, so that ain't good. Let me close that down. I got 30 seconds. Hey, pretty good. I got 30.
We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I got to take these things off, man. I got backlash in my ears. So from something. I don't know if my headphones are hooked up to my other computer or what, but that was really weird, man.
But we're here.
Weird couple of 24 hours. And I think for some reason this thing is still doing weird shit, Jeremy.
All right, I'm gonna need Clint to get his stuff together real quick. So Quinn Ewers has been named the starting quarterback at the University of Texas. Yesterday, a lot of rumblings on Twitter about possibly Hudson Card taking this job. And then through John Bianco today during a player media availability announces that Quinn Ewers is the quarterback of the University of Texas starting on September 3rd. We kind of felt like Quinn was going to be the guy since he came to Texas. Just looking at his film at South Lake Carroll and his arm talent, what he brings to the University of Texas. Quinn has always been the guy that we thought was going to take this job. So it was a surprise to us yesterday hearing that Hudson was in the lead for the race, or that he was going to be named the starting quarterback by several sources out there that you guys know well. But today the news comes out that Quinn is the starter, and we couldn't be more excited for the upside that we think he brings to the program. Again, you package him with Bijan Robinson and the deep receiver core and tight end room, and the sky's the limit. Again, he's inexperienced. Only got 6-7 months in Steve Sarkisian's system. Went through spring ball, fall camp, but he's our guy. Clint, can you hear us?
Can you hear me right now, Jeremy?
Show. Yeah, we can.
Yeah, can I hear you? Can you hear me?
Yes.
I got a lot of back feed, man, going on.
All right, then just talk, man. Just talk.
Oh, man. Hold on. Let me get out of here and come back in, dude.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm just going to keep talking until he comes back in. Yeah, we realized that Stephen started at 4:45. Again, generally we go at 7. Just wanted to move ours up a couple of hours so that we weren't in that 7 o'clock rush with everybody else. So realized that he is doing a show currently with Tarek, LaCour, and Kieran. But yeah. Understand that, but sometimes you make decisions to push stuff out, and guys are going at the same time. So we hope that Stephen's having a good show, and when folks get done watching his show, they come over to us, and vice versa. If you're in our show, hopefully you pop out of this one when we're done and hop into Stephen's show. But yeah, just excited. I know Clinton had a list of things he wanted to talk about. First thing was that he was right. A couple of live shows ago, he did project that Quinn Ewers was going to be the starting quarterback after the first scrimmage. That has happened. Again, I think Steve Sarkisian wanted to get the starting quarterback named, and I think it's paramount that it was done about this time. Friday afternoon during the player availability through John Bianco probably wasn't what we thought the announcement would look like, especially since he was in front of the media yesterday. But ultimately, what's going to happen is now I think they're going to be able to split up those reps, starting with the scrimmage like you normally would during game week of the season. So do anticipate him getting a lot more snaps. And again, that's what's necessary, being his first year in the system. Under Steve Sarkisian is getting those first team reps with, like I said, Bijan Robinson's, Xavier Worthy's, Jordan Whittington. And if you guys can't tell, I'm uncomfortable doing the play-by-play thing. My thing. He comes up with the concepts. So he's back. We can hear you. Are you ready to go?
Yes. All right. Thanks for holding it down, Jeremy. Absolutely, man. I know you covered the last 24 hours. I think you did. So really, hopefully I don't start really crossing you up on what you've already talked about, but I think the last 24 hours was kind of crazy.
We can hit it. We can hit it again.
Yeah, obviously a Hudson Card. And I apologize again for the craziness in the live tonight. For those that are going to be watching it back later, again, I apologize. I don't know what was going on. I was getting a lot of feedback in my headphones, and I was hearing myself over and over and over again. But hey, we appreciate these 27 people watching right now. First and foremost, obviously the news cycle has been crazy over the last 24 hours. You're talking about, Hudson Card being named a starter on Twitter, one, and then two, 24 hours later, or I think we should go back. So at 5 o'clock yesterday, Steve Sarkisian did a press conference. They asked him if he was ready to name a quarterback. And all of a sudden it was like, well, there's five guys I can name, right? And he says, I think I'm close to naming a quarterback. Then all of a sudden last night, it was like a shitstorm on Twitter, to say the least. It was like, goodness gracious, Longhorn fans are throwing a fit because, Hudson Card had been named the starter. I actually went to bed last night worried more about the kickers than the actual quarterback themselves, who was named starter. If Hudson Card was named starter, you got to trust in what Sarkisian's doing, as a quarterback guru, putting 7 guys, I think 10 guys in the NFL, 7 first rounders. You had to trust what he was, trust who he was going to put it, out there with the first team. That's one. Two, I was more concerned about the kickers going 3 for 7. Because if you got a guy like Hudson Card, and you got a guy like Quinn Ewers, and you got a guy like Xavier Worthy and Jaleel Billingsley and Tariq Milton and Jordan Whittington, the list goes on and on and on. And I think the offense would have still been prolific. Bottom line, if you put Hudson Card out there, then all of a sudden it was like, what's going on today? Then John Bianco, the communications director from the University of Texas, decides he wants to put out to the media that Sarkisian decided on Quinn Ewers as the quarterback. So it was like, what happens now? You know what I'm saying? So we have our quarterback 1 right now going into the second scrimmage. I was telling Jeremy I was wrong because I had picked Quinn Ewers to come out of that first scrimmage as QB1. And I was wrong last night. And then 24 hours later, I'm right because Quinn Ewers was named the starting quarterback before scrimmage 2. Why do you think he named Quinn Ewers his starting quarterback? I'm not going to say this early. I know why it's important that he named him this early. But why do you think he went in and named Quinn Ewers his starting quarterback?
Repetitions. Again, you're 2 weeks away from the first game, right? So this week you really have to sink in your game, what he does well in the offense, because the next week is ULM preparation week, right? So he has to take those first team reps over the next week, beginning tomorrow and through next week, in order for Sark to get a good idea. And of course, Sark has a good idea of what he's good at and how to put Quinn Ewers in the best circumstances to make plays and to move this offense down the field and score points. But it was important that, because they're going to throw in the game plan the following week, that you get as much repetitions. And he said it yesterday, in those things that he doesn't do well, right? So to continue to rep those things, he's going to put in the game plan what Quinn does well, but he's going to continue to work on. Now we know who he was talking about. Going to continue to work on those things that require improvement. Again, the arm talent is second to none, but the decision-making process, getting through the progressions of the play, understanding what the pre-snap read gives you, and not putting yourself in vulnerable situations to turn the football over, because we've heard that a lot over the fall camp, is they both turn the football over way too much. And again, we always attribute Quinn's, because we don't have access to practice, and to trusting his arm too much, putting it into tight windows that he really doesn't necessarily have to. But you want him to get those out of his system against his own teammates, right? Gives the defense confidence, allows him to see, hey, I can't make this throw against Deshaun Jameson or Ryan Watts or whoever happens to be out there. So he gets those out of his system during fall camp, probably remove it from the playbook, remove it from his mind, and then work on those things that he does really, really well.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with Quinn Ewers is he's not going to be a run first. He's not going to be a run. I mean, I say run first because I think, Hudson tried to do his best to stay in the pocket and throw the ball. And if you go back and look at that Arkansas game, he would get it right up to the line, and he's like, should I run it? Well, Coach Sarkisian doesn't want me to run it. Should I throw the ball? And then all of a sudden he's throwing these balls from these weird, awkward angles off his back foot, jumping in the air, and he's just not hitting the targets down the field. I think Quinn Ewers is going to give you that opportunity to stay in the pocket as long as he possibly can, take the hit, but be able to drive the ball down the field. But I think you're right. I think if Steve Sarkisian would have chosen Hudson Card as his quarterback, he probably would have had to add some run game to that or expect some run game from that. And I'm not saying that Quinn Ewers is not athletic enough to get outside the pocket and pick up a few yards if he needs to, but I think it's just two different types of quarterbacks. Hudson Card was a dual threat quarterback, and Quinn Ewers, coming from a pass-happy offense at South Lake Carroll, is that prototypical quarterback that Steve Sarkisian wanted. So it's one of these things where it's like you're talking about, he's going to have to obviously dial back some of the playbook now, is what it sounds like, because he's not going to be able to pick up the entire playbook before the season starts. But I think 3 games into it, I think by the time you get into Big 12 play, I think you've allowed him to grow much more as a starting quarterback. Really, because if you take 2 scrimmages left, and then 3 football games, you've given him 5 games with these ones going into the Big 12 play, which really counts.
What makes you think that Quinn Ewers is working with less than a full playbook?
It's been said that he spent an extra time with AJ Milwee in the quarterback's room, going over the playbook, outside of those hours. I'm not saying he doesn't know the entire playbook, but I'm saying that again, you're talking about a guy that's redshirt freshman that's been here since January, right? And in Steve Sarkisian's offense, most of the guys he's worked with have been in his system for multiple years, before they started. So there's a lot of things that happen in his playbook, making the right decisions based on what the defense is giving you. What I'm saying is you give him what he's really good at. Just take that playbook, define what he's really good at, and adjust the offense to what his strengths are, especially with, obviously he doesn't have experience at the college football level, and he hasn't played since his sophomore year.
I mean, that goes without saying that they're going to cater the playbook to his strengths. What I was asking you, and I understand that he's spending extra time with AJ Milwee off the clock, going through the playbook, but I guess my question was, is anything off limits? Because my thought was, if you choose Hudson Card, and again, we'll just do this and then get it out of the way. If you choose Hudson Card, because I said this on the live that we had the other day, you're going to have to add elements to the playbook. I felt like you were going to have to add those run things that you were talking about, those run sequences, to allow him to, again, not like you and Steven talked about the other day, not run up to the line of scrimmage and then have a second thought and just try to dump the ball off because you don't want to run. And yes, Quinn Ewers is a pocket passer, but that doesn't mean he has limited mobility at the same time. Go back and watch his tape from South Lake Carroll. He runs the ball quite efficiently. He runs really, really well in the game film that I've seen. And that's the thing, is you looked at Quinn Ewers' junior film at South Lake Carroll, and you compared it to Hudson Card's sophomore year college film, and the arm talent, again, jumps off the page. So when we got the news yesterday that Hudson Card had been named the starter, again, we know that was not true. Quinn has since been named the starter. I think it gives you more potential, more upside, more explosiveness than you would if you had Hudson Card running the offense. And I think that's important that we understand that. And like you said, if he doesn't have 100% of the playbook at his disposal against ULM, I still think they're going to have to do some things against Alabama that's going to have to go outside his comfort zone. Because, again, you've got to give them as many different personnel packages, as many different alignments as you possibly can. And if all else fails, you hand the ball to 5. You swing it out to 5. He's the best player on your football team currently, along with Worthy on the offensive side of the ball. I think JT Sanders is going to be an explosive asset to this. Steve Sarkisian said that yesterday, and we've talked about that in our tight end preview, how we felt that this tight end room had improved over from last year. So like you said, get him in those things that he's comfortable with, that he executes very, very well, and slowly give him those things that he has needed to work on since January, put those things in the playbook, and see how he executes them.
So Cody Phillips asked, because you guys knew the Hudson news yesterday was false, right? Absolutely, man. And I'd like you to go look at my Twitter. Twitter will tell you everything you need to know about the false news that came out. Absolutely, we knew it was false. But the way it happened last night in Twitterverse was an absolute meltdown show when it was put out by a couple of, media folks. But again, this is why it's important for me and Jeremy to kind of stay away from, naming quarterbacks or talking about injuries, because you don't know specifically, how good sourced information is to, insiders, and we'll kind of leave it at that. But yeah, absolutely, we knew it was false after the information came out today. You got to run if they say Hudson Card, and I don't know if they definitively came out and said Hudson Card is your starter, but Hudson Card last night on Twitter was everybody's starter for the University of Texas program until about 2:00 this afternoon when John Bialco put out that Quinn Ewers was named by Steve Sarkisian as quarterback one.
And I'll say this, and then we'll leave it alone, because I was talking to Homer today, Texas Homer, via DM on Twitter, and us YouTube content creators have an advantage that the paid sites don't. We are able to sit back and react because we don't have to be the first one out with information, true or false. And I will say this, that last Saturday we did a show prior to the scrimmage, and right after that show we were contacted about injuries, right? But we don't deliver that information until it's verified by the team. What good is it for me to say Roschon Johnson is out 6 to 8 weeks, and then somebody come behind us and say he's not even in a boot 2 days later? So we just hold off on that. Again, we have the benefit of not doing it for a living and not having to be first. But you guys know there have been players on this channel. There have been, parents that are in this channel, and that we're going to have a parents roundtable very, very soon. That we could have a source-driven channel, but we don't do this full time, right? And we're not trying to compete with IT. We're not trying to compete with Orange Bloods. We're not trying to compete with 247 and what they do. Again, their rosters are a lot deeper than me and Clint. I don't think we could compete with them. But at the same time, we do have a benefit of not having to rush out with information and being able to take information from those guys and mainly from the team, and then discuss it in a reactionary format. But yeah, I mean, we do have folks that we contact within the program, and they contact us, and sometimes we do have bits of information, but we generally don't go public with it until it's been confirmed. Same thing with recruiting, right? So we've known that folks are going to commit maybe a week, couple of days out before they do it, but we don't want to spoil the kid's moment. We let the kid, back when we did commitment corners, if we had an idea of a kid was going to commit, we tape the show, and once the kid committed, then we release the show. It's their moment. And we never want to be caught with putting out incorrect information. But we have that advantage that we don't have to be in a race. Does that make sense? Am I explaining it pretty well?
Yeah, absolutely. No? So yeah, let's get back to Quinn Ewers, man. And this. So you were talking about upside a while ago, and Steve Sarkisian, y'all have heard me say this multiple times now. Steve Sarkisian says when all things are equal, he's always going to go with the guy that gives him more upside. And that's what Quinn Ewers gives you in quarterback. And in doing so, the program has lost, I may be way off here. I think we've had 7 lost seasons, or 5 lost seasons, whatever it is, over the last 10 years. And I think Quinn Ewers, being the 1.0000 commit he is, and being at the University of Texas, gives the program hope. And when I say that, you are looking at this guy as the best quarterback since Trevor Lawrence, since Vince Young, and you've been able to see what those guys have been able to do. But I think with that, him being a redshirt freshman / really true freshman, if you look at it, and being in the same class as Malik Murphy, I think it's important for people to understand that he's going to make freshman mistakes. And I think you're going to see, you would hope that Steve Sarkisian gives him a longer leash than what he did last year with Hudson Card, specifically because he's going against ULM on September 3rd. He's going against the best team in the country on September 10th. and then turn around and go through UTSA. I think you're going to have to see some of these lumps, and I think Texas fans are going to have to deal with some of these lumps that you're going to see from him as a freshman. Instead of throwing the ball out of field, he decides to throw it across the middle of the field, and the interceptions happen, right? Just trying to make a play. But I think it's important for us to understand that with that hope that we think he's going to be the next great quarterback at the University of Texas, that you have to also understand that he's also a redshirt freshman that has not played really any football outside of scrimmages since his sophomore year in high school. Your thoughts on that, Jeremy?
No, I totally agree with you. And again, like I base my stuff up on not necessarily recruiting rankings and star status and all that stuff, but how you get to the film is them being rated, right? I'd never know who Quinn Ewers was if he wasn't a 5-star recruit, unless he decided to go to the University of Texas. Now, if you're a 3-star and you come to Texas, I end up watching your film. But you're absolutely correct. Like, he would be in the same, and I told you this earlier today, like, that's why, again, I don't know where Malik is in his progression. Don't get much film coming out of practice, no film coming out of practice, and other than that one you got Tuesday, only reports by those folks who are allowed and those sources that are allowed to see practice. But like I told you, Malik Murphy and Quinn Ewers competed at the same Elite 11 camp. They are the same age. They are part of the same class in my mind. And Malik Murphy was never a thought. Again, we put out a poll yesterday on Twitter, just trying to gauge, because our position preview for quarterback was going to come out this weekend, trying to gauge where the fans thought this quarterback race was from their perspective. And it ended up with about 200 votes, 78% Ewers, 11% Murphy, 11% Card. And so it seems like everybody, as far as fan has concerned, has discounted Hudson Card, because a guy you've never even seen take the field, who's a true freshman. Again, Quinn's a redshirt freshman, but zero legitimate playing time at Ohio State, was still picked equal to or less than Hudson Card. So there's something about Hudson Card that folks didn't really gravitate to, and I think it's Arkansas. He was named the starter last year and lost his job at Arkansas, whereas Quinn doesn't have any of that we've seen. I said all that to say this. You're absolutely right. He's a true freshman, same age as Malik Murphy. Malik Murphy was never even discussed as being the starting quarterback at the University of Texas. I think he has a very bright future. I think these guys are going to go out year after year in quarterback competitions through the spring and fall. And when you bring in a guy like Arch Manning, you got one heck of a quarterback room going forward. And I don't know what this means big picture to Hudson Card. But what I do know, like you said, Quinn's a freshman in my mind. This is his class. There's going to be growing pains, but just like there's going to be explosive plays, you're going to see him hit shots like he did again with Isaiah Nair in the spring game. That's not going to change. He's still going to be able to hit those shots. It's how many of freshman mistakes can you deal with, and how many end up costing you football games, because that's what you want. You want him to do everything he can to help them win football games. And that was my thought about Card yesterday when we heard that information, regardless if it was true or false. And there was a lot of blowback about it, is you have to, as a Texas fan, support whoever Steve Sarkisian decides to start. And it doesn't change on the offensive line, defensive end, secondary. This is just the most high-profile position on a football team. But in my mind, if the coach decides they're the one to start, as a fan base and as a team as a group who supports the team, we got to be all in on that guy, regardless of who it is. Just my thoughts on that piece as well.
Yeah, and David Williams is talking about this. This is something you think about. I was thinking about this last night as these things announced. And again, David, my actual worry was special teams and kicking, and your kicker's not kicking it out of the end zone and going 3 for 7 in field goals in an open practice. That makes me more nervous than if they would have named Hudson Card the quarterback of the University of Texas, because you have these gentlemen in the backfield. You have talent at the wide receiver position. You do. And I think you're making adjustments on the offensive line. Some of these guys are probably going to be, true freshmen as well. Who knows? You may have upwards of 2 true freshmen starting, and by the end of the year, hell, it may be 3 or 4, depending on the trajectory of these true freshmen. But it all comes down to this. You have Bijan Robinson, Roshan Johnson, Jonathan Brooks, and Keelan Robinson to hand the ball off if all else fails. That's really what it comes down to for this quarterback. Who wouldn't want to, as a redshirt freshman, want to be able to turn around and hand the ball off to number 5, who is the best running back, and according to ESPN, the top 5, one of the in the top 5 of best college football players this year. That's an easy answer, or, hey, Bijan, I need you to go and do a wheel route. I'm going to toss you the ball out here, and beat that corner or beat that safety or beat that linebacker with one of your moves and take it to the house, So I think that's where it comes back to. So again, when this decision, when all this craziness was going on last night about Hudson Card, it really didn't really teeter me one way or the other. I still seen this as an 8-4 team where I had us at that moment, I don't think it really affected. I don't think with Hudson Card, we're going to lose 3 extra games. I just don't believe that with the talent you have around him in his second year in Steve Sarkisian's system, understanding what Steve Sarkisian wants from you, as long as he went back and fixed those deficiencies that we seen last year in that Arkansas game, in that West Virginia game, in that Kansas game. If he fixed those deficiencies, you got to think about it. It's hard for me to see that Hudson Card didn't get better from last year to this year being under Steve Sarkisian's tutelage. There's no doubt that he got better, and he's probably going to go outside probably this year, depending on how things work out. I think he wants to graduate from the University of Texas, so he's not going anywhere now. Graduate from the University of Texas, he could be a grad transfer somewhere, but don't think he's not taking everything that Steve Sarkisian's given to him, or teaching him, and he's not going to be able to use it at the next level. I absolutely think that Casey Thompson is going to do really, really at Nebraska this year. I think he's going to do really well at Nebraska this year. Now, hopefully they beat the shit out of the Oklahoma Sooners there in Lincoln. I think I believe it's the second week of the season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. 2 things. There's an old adage that says a quarterback's best friend is a sound running game, right? And so you're talking about the best security blanket that a true freshman quarterback can have, and that's number 5, Bijan Robinson and the rest of those running backs. Because, again, in order to set up the pass, you got to be able to run the football, right? And so I never imagined it, but I didn't think you'd have Cole Hudson, Banks, and Quinn Ewers. You got 3 out of the 11 personnel on your offense are going to be true freshmen coming out, and I think they're going to start game 1. I think they'll continue through game 12. That was my first thought. And then my second thought was, as you were talking about that, and the coach, and this came up about the coaching staff, is I talked to you about this earlier today. I don't make money. The University of Texas doesn't pay me. University of Texas doesn't pay you. Steve Sarkisian is always, and this coaching staff is always going to put the best players on the field because they owe that to the players' teammates. They owe that to themselves, and they owe it to the fan base to put out the best 22. He said about it yesterday. I need to have the best 22 on both sides of the football, and I need to have the best 22 when it comes to special teams. So that whole talk, and I know you sent out a tweet about boosters hearing that Hudson Card was going to be the starter and calling Steve Sarkisian and saying, hey, pump your brakes. Like, we're giving this guy this type of NIL deal. He's supposed to be a 1.00, the next savior for University of Texas football. Bench, question or the decision that we heard last night and put Quinn Ewers in. That never happened. Steve Sarkisian is always going to put the best football players on the football field, regardless of classification, because his job depends on it. That's how I feel about it.
I think it's total delusion. You know what I'm saying? Like to think that, these big money donors or these boosters, however you want to call them, all of a sudden they get this inkling that Steve Sarkisian is going to pick Hudson Card as his starting quarterback. And then all of a sudden he gets a phone call at like midnight, like, Steve, what are you doing, man? Absolutely not. We're not doing that. You know what I'm saying? We got all these NIL deals. You done brought him in for Ohio State. He's from South Lake Carroll. Hey, change what you're thinking about doing. We want Quinn Ewers to start. To me, that's delusional. And I'm not, if your thought process is that, hey, to each its own. But to think that Steve Sarkisian is going to make a call on probably the most important position in winning football games, he's going to go with the best available quarterback he has, not the one that has the biggest NIL deal or the one that just happened to have a 1.000 transfer. Think about this, right? Mac Jones, right? Mac Jones, Bryce Young at Alabama, right? Mac Jones, Bryce Young at Alabama. I'm pretty sure if you go to those Alabama boards about the same time, 2 years ago, right? 2 years ago, this same time. I bet you when he made that decision to bring in Mac Jones versus playing Bryce Young at Alabama, I'm assuming the boards probably looked as crazy as what ours did yesterday, right? And that was my thought process too when you're looking at Quinn Ewers versus Hudson Card. If he picked Hudson Card, look what he did with Mac Jones and look what he did with Bryce Young. But he always going to go with what he thinks is best or what quarterback is going to give him the best opportunity to run his offense, his pro-style offense, but also give him the best shot to win all these football games. So to think that, these boosters reached out to Steve Sarkisian and slapped his hand and told him, absolutely not, we're making this decision for you. That's delusional. That's all I have to say.
I like the last sentence of Roger's comment here. Good enough, old enough. If you're good enough to be on the field, you're old enough to be on the field. I totally agree with that. And then I popped up this comment from Terry a minute ago because I was telling Clint that today it's all speculation because nobody has access to all the stuff you read, and it's always sourced information. And we saw yesterday that sourced information isn't always accurate information. But come September 3rd, we're all going to get to be able to see what's happening on the football field. And then it's not going to be subjective information anymore. It's going to be objective information. And like you, Terry, I can't wait for all these projections to be over and for us to be talking about the real deal. But we're really glad you guys joined us. It's 5:30 in the afternoon, kind of went off schedule for us on a Friday night, started live at 5 o'clock. And glad you folks are in here. If you have not hit that like button, please hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed to Texas Football Talk, please do that so that when folks get off these other live shows and watching all this other content, because, again, Quinn Ewers is trending on Twitter. I heard he's the 6th most popular thing going on Twitter right now. So there's a lot of stuff going on as far as content creation and YouTube talk about the Texas program and Quinn Ewers being named the starting quarterback. So please hit that like button. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed to the channel. We really, really appreciate it.
David Williams, I have a feeling there might be 5 or 6 even more freshmen starting by game 2 or 3. I just hope UT can survive with them so much until November. By game 8 and 9, the Longhorns should be really good. I think so. I said this the other night. I was like, hey, if you have an opportunity to play your freshmen, the time is to play them now. One, give them game experience. Get them game experience. If they're good enough to go to the NFL after 3 years, red shirts really don't matter anymore, right? You're going to give them 3 years and they're going to go to the NFL. So redshirting highly talented, freshmen is really not a thing anymore. If they can give you a better chance of winning football games, regardless of experience, regardless of age, regardless of what year they're in college, I think you have to play them. But I also, with starting Quinn Ewers, with starting a couple of freshmen in offensive line, with guys like Tapp and Finkley and Jalen Gilbo, let's talk, Brooks at cornerback if he plays a little bit. I think it's important. I think one of the things you're going to see, and I think we're still winning 8 games, I think, is that you see progression and building towards getting better again. And I think you can sell that better in losing a few games if you're playing a whole bunch of freshmen versus playing the same people you played last year with the same result, with those same losses, because you're allowing these guys to get in-game experience for now their sophomore year where they played, 8 games versus playing 2 games because you decided to play somebody else because they had more experience, but didn't have much upside.
I don't think coaches look at it like that. I think they want to find the best players and put them on the field. I don't think they're thinking, hey, if I play this many freshmen, and somebody said it, the sophomores and the freshmen are the strength of this team. And we said that. D-Train, you're absolutely right. Like we've said, those guys who've been in the program 4 or 5 years, who've reached their athletic ceiling, need to be replaced by those guys who are equal to or better than, regardless of classification. We've been preaching that all summer long into the fall camp. Couldn't agree with you more. But I don't think a coach looks at buying himself more time by playing freshmen. I know you don't think that way either. You just know that they're putting the best football players on the field because they want to win games, they want to compete, they want to win championships.
I think the fan base is going to see it.
I know.
If you win 5 games, if you lose 4 games or 5 games, you go 7-5, but you're playing 12 freshmen that wind up on a freshman All-American team versus playing the same guys with not as much upside or trajectory in development, it's just easier for the fan base to be able to regurgitate that stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. We're fans, and I would agree with that principle. If let's just say let's equate it to basketball. If 5-man roster, if it's full of nothing but freshmen and sophomores, and you're competing, you may not be winning championships, but you're competing. Then you're like, hey, what happens when these guys become juniors and seniors if they're still in the program? And like you said, I think early exits. Hopefully Texas starts producing early exits to the NFL draft because historically over the last 3 or 4 years, we're not sending anybody to the NFL draft, especially day 1 and 2. So I wholeheartedly would love that circumstance to be happening because, again, you're churning over great recruiting classes. Last year, top 5, currently 2, right behind Alabama after Notre Dame had a decommit earlier this week. So you're bringing the right kind of projected athletes into this program. Let's start building on class after class. And like you said, then you'll start seeing these early exits to the NFL, which probably means you're winning a lot of football games, competing for conference championships, if not for that CFP playoff. And like you said, hope is why everybody wanted Quinn Ewers to start, I believe. I believe he just has the better arm talent and the higher upside and can move this offense in more ways than Hudson Card can. That's why I agree with the 78% who answered our poll yesterday saying Quinn Ewers should be the starting quarterback at UT.
I like this question from Greg Lane. Did Sark bait the media to find leaks? I don't know. I can't answer because I'm me and Jeremy don't speak to anybody in University of Texas athletics to get our information. That makes sense directly to the University of Texas athletic program. We don't really talk to anybody there. But I think it's real crazy to think that a whole bunch of, after yesterday's 5:00 press conference where Steve Sarkisian said he was close to naming a starter, the leaks or the thought process of Hudson Card starting created a whirlwind situation on Twitter yesterday where you would have thought there was somebody leaked some information out or some misinformation out of there as a way to, stir the pot. But at the same time, I just don't think Sarkisian's that guy that would say, okay, I'm going to send some misinformation out and then turn around the next day and have my director of communications say that, Quinn Ewers is now the QB1. But I also want to bring this up too, because I think I'm going to beat up Sarkisian here for a minute. I don't understand if you did a 5:00 press conference yesterday in front of the media outlets you've chosen to come to your press conferences. If you knew who the starter was going to be today at 2:00, there's no way you didn't know who the starter was going to be yesterday at 5:00, unless something significant happened last night, which they'd already practiced yesterday.
No practice, right?
There's no practice. I don't understand how Steve Sarkisian, because again, I'm going to beat him up for a second. I don't think Nick Saban is going to give his communications director, he's going to go to his communications director and say, hey, by the way, I need you to go out there and tell or put out to our media that this person's going to be QB1. I don't know. It might have happened before. But it's just weird coming from the director of communications instead of the head football coach. And maybe he just didn't want to answer questions on it today. You know what I'm saying? Or host a separate press conference today to address the situation, whatever the case may be. But I just think it was really weird to go through the director of communications to name your quarterback, this year. I don't know. It's just weird to me. Any thoughts on that?
I don't understand why today, like you said, there hasn't been a practice. There hasn't been a scrimmage since yesterday when he addressed the media up until the day that it was told by John Bianco that Quinn Ewers is going to be the starting quarterback. Message from Sarkisian. It's not how I would have done things. Again, I feel like Quinn Ewers may have known. Everybody's talking about this tweet that he put out in his rodeo vest, his green and white rodeo vest, talking about something's coming to Austin on Friday, the 19th of August. Everybody equated that to something happening with the rodeo, something happened with the NIL deal. Hell, I don't know if Sark sat down with Hudson Card and Quinn Ewers on Wednesday when that tweet was initially sent out and said, hey, you're the guy going forward. Saturday, you're starting the scrimmage, and we're going to start prepping you as the starting quarterback for ULM and to go into the season. Again, like you said, we don't have that information and sometimes, or that source, and sometimes it's better not to have. I think David Williams said it earlier. It's better. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it's better to be right than to be first sometimes. And that's where we choose to be. Is like I said, it's a little easier for us because we don't do this full time and can be reactionary and can afford to not have the first story about a significant event at University of Texas. But yeah, a little weird for me.
What was also a little weird is, again, for those that are listening to us that don't have Twitter, I'm not sure if anything on Instagram or Facebook, they're a little different than Twitter. The meltdown that happened from fans yesterday. Jeremy said he stayed off Twitter. I think he read one comment, he got off of there. It's crazy that they were up in arms. There were actually people talking about marching on Austin if Hudson Card was a real thing. I'm like, what? Like, and then they come out and they're like, well, it's kind of this hope he fails situation, right? Which is weird as hell to me as a fan, right? Why would you hope that your starting quarterback fails so that he's replaced by the second string quarterback instead of hoping your quarterback succeeds? It gives you something that you haven't had since the 2018 season, and that's the possibility of winning 10 games. I don't understand that as a fan. And me and you both play competitive sports, right? And we're competitive people. I don't know how somebody can think that it's okay to say, hey, you know what? We named this guy the starting quarterback. I hope he fails for the first 4 games so that we put our redshirt freshman quarterback in there to finish the damn season. How does that make sense? That, to me,
it doesn't to me. Again, we pride ourselves on being competitive. We want to win in everything we do. I'm sure every player on that football team, scholarship, non-scholarship, that has sweat, blood, and tears on that football field all year long and in the weight room, doesn't hope their teammate fails. Even if you're competing for a job, you just want to outperform the other guy. You don't want to take his job due to injury, due to him, being less than, right? You just want to go compete, put your best foot forward, and let the chips fall where they may. So I just don't understand the thought of, hey, let's start him, but then hope he fails so we could say that we were right and that Quinn needed to be the starter all along. Yeah, I just don't get that mentality. Why don't you just get behind him as a fan should, wish him success, because ultimately that's – players come and go, right? Especially in this sport, right? In the NFL, you may have a guy for 10 years. He may be a career Dallas Cowboy and be with your organization for 10 years. But in this sport, we're cheering for the color of the jersey. We're cheering for the name on the front of the jersey, because if Quinn Ewers is as good as everybody thinks he's going to be, he's not going to be here in 3 years. And then you're going to be cheering for Arch Manning. Then you're going to be cheering for the next great quarterback. Then you're going to so to hope an individual player fails so that another one, you could say I told you so and it can be replaced, is absolutely crazy. Because again, as Texas Longhorn fans, I cheer for the burnt orange and the name on the front and the players that happen to be fulfilling those shoes every single year.
Jimmy, yes, I think most people that were saying that were trolls are not for real. No, we stay on Twitter about 12 hours out of the day, and it's the same people that we see all the time. So these guys weren't trolls; these are actually Longhorn fans, and it's one of these things where you just don't get in a conversation with them because they're just not going to understand your thought process. So you kind of just move on to the next Twitter comment. But yeah, a lot of these guys are Texas Longhorn fans that we see
stirring it up
day, just stirring the pot.
Yeah,
they didn't want Hudson Card to be the starting quarterback at the University of Texas. They truly believe in Quinn Ewers, which is really, really sad. So they find themselves in a situation. Let's root against the guy that's going to be starting quarterback, and which is really shitty because, like Jeremy's saying, you're rooting for the burnt orange. You're rooting for the University of Texas. You're rooting for a great season. You're not rooting specifically for, yes, there's players that you root for, right? But at the same time, whoever they name starters or backups or who's going to be the kicker, it doesn't matter. Each position is going to have guys they like more than the others. But at the same time, you shouldn't say, hey, I hope this guy's not successful, that they fell out and we have to bring somebody in. But you're okay with losing, 4 or 5 games before we get there.
Hey, bro, if you keep slapping that table, you're liable to have the first 5 minutes of this show. Because every time you hit that table, I'm just letting you know that
Okay.
switches. All right. So he's passionate. I'm passionate. And we're going to be the best keyboard coaches you're going to see come September all the way to December. Because like Mark's saying, personally, I trust Sark to name the QB that gives us the best chance to win. That's all I want. That's all Clint wants. I'm sure that's what 90% of you want. All the fans, myself included, should trust the head coach to make the call that is best for the team. Again, especially when you don't have anything to go off. At least in the NFL, you have preseason games that you could see and judge talent and judge how they played against other teams. In this situation, you don't. You had one live practice on a Tuesday night. They got pushed out on YouTube, and there was clips of it on Twitter for folks to see it. But that's one little hour-long segment, in this case, 30-minute segment of what has been all spring and all fall. So with limited access, again, you got to trust the coaches that see them in the film room, see them on the practice field day in and day out to make the best decisions for what they feel like is going to help their football team. Couldn't agree more with you, Mark, and appreciate the comment. By the way, Sam's getting in back here. If y'all can hear the snoring, that's my bulldog, Sam. Every now and then when me and Clint get quiet for a second, Sam will chirp up. But
I just want to tell these 71 people in here, man, appreciate you joining us this early, 5:46 on a Friday. If you go back and watch the first 5 minutes, you'll know what Jeremy's talking about the last 5 minutes. Unfortunately, I had some headphone issues. We thought we had them worked out before I got in here. I was getting a lot of feedback, so I tore my headset off like I was a football coach, and I threw them down. And then I took myself away from the TV from the studio, came back into the studio, put my headphones back on, and we act like nothing ever happened again. But I promise you, that's not going to be it. It definitely wasn't the first, and it probably won't be the last in the culmination. We've just gotten better at it. I can tell you that we've got better at it. Jeremy took over like a QB1, and he took off with it. You know what I'm saying? So. He just started mumbling. He mumbled for like 4 minutes. I did. I'm the point guard over here. I'm the point guard, and I'm usually just shooting I'm pushing the ball to Jeremy so he can shoot. But we apologize about that for the people that watched the beginning of this show. We had a coaching headset problem where I wasn't getting the plays called in correctly. You know what I'm saying? So I had to toss that headset and go get another one. It's like the replay official. Sitting down on the ground or sitting down on the football field, and he can't communicate with the replay booth, and he's just sitting there. Delay is now 4 or 5 minutes, and we're trying to figure out, and they're just like, I can't hear nothing, and the game never moves on. Yeah, he said, I have no problems with emotions. Now we appreciate the Jimmy. We appreciate the compliment again. There's a lot of stuff going on today. In my mind, it's great news for the University of Texas. Yes. Like I said, we didn't get to do our position preview, but anybody who's watched us for a period of time and just watched Tuesday's show, we had Nino's Corner on, we had Stephen Nagati, and I think all four of us had Quinn Ewers starting for the University of Texas. And like I said, kind of got thrown a curveball yesterday. I'm hitting the dislike button on purpose because we owe them 8 live videos, inner circle emojis, etc. Yeah, Josh, I can't figure out the green thing. I want to give you the green thing like all the other inner circle members have, but I don't know the inner workings of YouTube and can't take your membership back to give you a new membership to fix your status. But we're staying busy, man. We're trying to stay busy. Again, Quinn Ewers kind of helped us out. We'll be on Locked on Longhorns sometime tomorrow. I know they do a tape show. Me and Clint will be on there. They'll distribute that. And then we have secondary preview coming out this weekend, and then now I don't know what we're going to do with the quarterback preview. This may act as it. So we'll see because they kind of took all the Steve Sarkisian, and I'm glad he did it. I think this is the perfect time to do it. Again, because you got 1 week and then game prep week. Like I said, to figure out exactly what that playbook looks like when you go into prep week. Hey, we're taking this out. Quinn doesn't do this well. We'll work on this a little bit later. Hey, he does this really, really well. This is our game plan going into ULM. The things he does great, and then execute from there. Working Van said, "Can you see my green thing?" Yep. And then UT Mark, he's green too. I want the green thing too. They all green. Got a lot of green in here tonight, man. We appreciate y'all's membership. We do, man. We really appreciate your support. Clint may have to take that support and go get some new headphones or a new microphone, one of the two after this. So, so I definitely appreciate it, man. Definitely appreciate it.
I don't know if there's not. I'm sure there's non-inner circle members here because I know the number of members that we have, and there's 85 folks in here. So what the inner circle is, let me tout that real quick, and then we'll get on with the rest of it. Is our memberships, again, special emojis. Devontae's probably throwing them up right now. That's the emoji access, the badges, these guys, the color green, to signify them as members. And a lot of them hit their first month. So I think they're supposed to be signified by a different badge than those who have been a little short term. But what we're going to have is we're going to have in-game chats for all members for every game of this season. And then special in-game chat with the microphones and the camera on, where I'm going to be doing some type of commentary back and forth with those members who happen to tune in for the Alabama and Oklahoma game. And then they get sneak previews of videos, the position previews generally. A couple of them have gone out to them a day, a couple of hours before they get released to the YouTube public. So if you're not a member, please think about becoming a member of the Inner Circle. We really, really appreciate it. But please hit that like, please hit that subscribe button if you have not, because this thing's about to get really, really hot as the 2022 season kicks off.
I'm going to look at something real quick because maybe the green is on our studio and not on their YouTube. Can you tell?
No, it's definitely, you can see their badges and their green names on YouTube. Yeah, that's a thing we'd like to continue because Josh is from Olathe, Kansas, or not from Olathe, Kansas. That's where he currently lives. So what we like to do every now and then is for those folks that are currently watching the show, let us know where you're watching us from. Let us know where you're listening to us from. Because that's kind of our roll call and I know Josh Tate kind of does it too. We didn't see his show and then adopt it. We've been doing it for a while. So let us know exactly where you are listening to us from, because we really appreciate it. Like I said, it's a busy day, Friday night. Folks got stuff going on. There's 82 of you currently in here, and we really appreciate it.
Candace coming in here, boy, she's fired up.
Yes, she is.
She said, freaking Twitter, pissing me off over this very thing. Are you a fan or not? She said, either you're a fan for this quarterback. If you're a fan for this quarterback, you need to be a fan for this quarterback too. There shouldn't be any controversy over that, man. Again, people got their guys that they want. They got the guys that they don't want. The ones they want to see play more than the others. I understand that as a fan too. Me and Jeremy, 95%, we've been saying this, that Quinn Ewers deserves to be the quarterback of the University of Texas this year, based on what his upside is and so on and so forth. But at the same time, at one of these points, at some point, even if he named a separate quarterback, I'm still a fan of the University of Texas, not the last name on the jersey. I'm a University of Texas fan, believe burn orange. So regardless of who's starting at what position, we're always going to, root for those guys.
Greg's going to Osan. He said Shepherd Air Force Base, soon to be Osan Air Base in the Republic of Korea. Yeah, I was at Camp Humphreys, which is about, I think it's 15 miles south of Osan Air Base. So you just take a taxi up to Osan from Camp Humphreys to go to the Chili's. They actually have a Chili's on base there. And those taxi drivers get you there in about 3 minutes, a 15-mile trip. So
yeah, I was actually down south in Daegu, which is a little bit further south, like going towards Busan. But me and Jeremy kind of used to get on the train and got to going to kind of see each other, on long weekends. He would come hang out with me and I'd go hang out with him.
We do want to welcome Carmon, newest member of the Inner Circle. Really appreciate you joining the family. Carmon, we'll make sure that, like I said, you'll have access to all those things I talked about earlier, and can't be happier to have you as part of our Inner Circle. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Like to grow, man. We like to grow. And I think what we enjoy is to become a family. And I think since me and Jeremy are doing this since 2 years, and I actually want to give this a shout out, man. Y'all actually might be part of, the ones sitting here today are going to be part of our 500,000 views.
Yeah.
This video should give us 500,000 views. So that's something we appreciate, y'all. We appreciate everybody's watched us 500,000 times, which is crazy to think of, right? when we started this damn thing 2 years ago, via telephone and a computer. I don't remember. I'd love to go back and watch our first video, but I really don't, because I know how disastrous it is. Maybe
it looked like our first 5 minutes of this show.
This one.
Not really. That was worse. But Clint was at Walker. Walker's actually the one down in Daegu, if I'm not mistaken, or is that the one a little bit north? Yeah,
Walker and Carroll. Yeah,
they're about 3 hours, 2.5 hours by the slow train to get from Walker up to Humphreys.
Yeah, by the slow train.
That's what it took us.
I never took the slow train.
I took the slow train.
I like
seeing the Korean countryside.
I think it was called the Mugawal.
Yeah, the
Mugawal. Yeah, it was the slow train, right?
Yep.
And then you take the fast.
I always hopped on the slow one.
Boom! I'm fast train guy, man. I'm paying the ticket. I'm paying the price and the ticket to get on that fast train, man. I'm not trying to sit on one of them long 3.5 hour rides, which is not bad, Public transportation like that is really cool in places like that. Subways, trains, taxis is what most people use. Yeah, they drive a lot of cars, but I used to be able to walk down from my apartment straight to a subway and get where I needed to go.
So, Cody, me and Clint talked about this a while back. Do you guys feel like Texas reaction coverage, YouTube space is saturated by now? When we talked about this the other day, we had Nino and Steven on. When we were in Korea, Steven was the first guy we stumbled upon on YouTube because, again, at Armed Forces Network, you didn't have a whole lot of Texas-specific coverage, so you had to find it on the internet. When we got back, we started our channel. Nino started his channel about the same time. There was 3 of us. The subscription sites, the Inside Texas 247, Orange Bloods, they weren't doing YouTube. They were doing strictly the subscription online, back and forth message boards. I'll never say it's too saturated, but we don't watch everyone. But those guys who are not subscription YouTube content creators, we support everybody, but we really support the guys who started out with us, meaning Steven and Nino, and then Texas Homer. Texas Platinum was an original too. We think they feed each other. We think that when we finish this video and drop it, and Steven drops it at the same time, folks that watch his show will come to our show and vice versa. So I don't think I can't answer about the oversaturation. We just do what we do and hope that you guys enjoy it. And that's kind of it for us. Your thoughts on that?
The SEC said, what makes you guys different is Clint's giggles with guests. Hilarious. Hook 'em. Well, I appreciate that. I think the biggest thing is we always want to come across as one. We like, it's very simple. We like to talk football, man. This is what me and Jeremy did. Believe it or not, this is me and Jeremy's phone calls to each other damn near about 5 or 6 times a week. This is how it really set up, because this is what me and Jeremy have always done. Like, things happen like today, and I'm on the phone with Jeremy for like a damn hour and a half talking about the Quinn Ewers saga, right? Or, we're talking to each other before the game and after the games and doing all this stuff and after press conferences and so on and so forth. And Jeremy was like, man, the same shit we're talking to each other about, we could be talking to other people with, I think it's we're not talking to you. I think it's with you guys, man. And I think that's why it's important for us to be as involved in the comments. Obviously, we're never going to get to 100% of the comments. That is really hard. When we had our first 10 to 15, like there's only 10 people in here, it's easy to pull up everybody's comments and go through those. But I think what's important to me and Jeremy is that we continue to have a channel where you're part of the show. I think that's the best way to put it. We want you to be part of the show, and we want to grab comments because you're just as smart as we are on this stuff. And we try to want to sit around, and I think this is the best way to do it. And some people, said this before, is just kind of being around the cooler and talking. Just like we were outside right now on a Friday night, we're sitting out there next to a cooler and we're just really talking Texas Longhorn football. And I think that's where me and Jeremy want to keep it at. I think we've had an opportunity, we started off with DraftKings. That was a little bit difficult for us, as a member, is being, having someone, I can't even think, a sponsor, but there was a lot of things to go with having a sponsor. There's a lot of things outside of the channel. And I think me and Jeremy, it's not that we're actually looking for a sponsor, but we don't want it to, it's got to be specific to what we want to channel. We're actually looking for a small business versus large business. We're looking for something local versus national. to be able to support. So if you know anybody that's interested in at some point, having their stuff put on our channel, we would definitely listen to it. But we also like being independent as well, and people not telling us when we got to do shows and how many shows we got to do a week and how many shows we got to do a month and how many readouts we got to have and putting all that stuff up there.
Yeah, but the interactive piece is what we really enjoy, and sometimes it's difficult post games if things don't go the University of Texas way. But I did want to recognize these two new members, Glenn. I know you dropped that down, but I'm picking it back up real quick. Jimmy S., really appreciate you joining the Inner Circle. Walt, really appreciate you joining the Inner Circle again. That's what we try to be. Like you said, a fan like you. You're just, articulate and smart about Texas football as anybody else. And that's why we like doing the interactive stuff and doing the lives. We try to do a live and then a live video to kind of switch it out. But we really, really, really enjoy being on here and doing this, because that's all it is to us, is watching games and talking ball. And so it's really easy. It's a passion project. But like Clint said, with sponsorship they wanted you to do a certain number of shows, and then they wanted you to kick it out on podcasts, and that causes work for the producer. Producer doesn't work for us full time. She has her own full-time job. So it just asks for us to do a lot of bookkeeping and stuff like that. But we want to be independent. We love promotion. We'd love to promote a small business if anybody's out there who would like to endorse whatever the channel.
Hale West just joined about 3 minutes ago. We're talking about membership and channels and stuff. Hale West, we had minus the first 5 minutes where we did have a fiasco tonight. I keep saying that, where we did have a fiasco with my headphones. I had a bad connection to upstairs, man, trying to get the plays called in. So I had to come off for a second, toss my headphones down and continue. But we talked about this, man. How did it go from Hudson's season to Quinn Ewers' season in 24 hours? I just got off work and seen it. Hell, I don't know either. If you've got Twitter, you can actually rewind to see what happened yesterday and kind of catch up to where we are today. But right now, as of about, I think it was 2 o'clock. Hell, I may be wrong. At about 2 o'clock today, Bianco, director of communications for the University of Texas, came out and sent a link to the media and said, hey, whatever the hell is going on Twitter is not correct. Quinn Ewers is named the starter going into the second, third scrimmage and into the season, which I making a call now, giving him the reps that he's going to get with the first team now, going into the second, third scrimmage in practices, getting us that first week of preparation for ULM is absolutely important. We'll see what the reports come out now, though. I think it's important the reports that you see coming out with him running with the ones and who's actually established themselves with the ones: Kelvin Banks, Cole Hudson, Devin Campbell, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and that's why I like this comment from Tyler, because we go back and rewatch the games. I think we're through probably 3 or 4 rotations through all of them, because, again, we miss football. And so as it gets closer to the season, that's what we do on Saturdays. He'll call me and say, hey, I got the last 3. I'm looking at the first 3. And then, like you said, we call each other with feedback. Hey, did you see this play? Did you miss this play? But this is exactly what we're talking about. I think on Twitter just last week, they had a video come out that said 90 seconds of missing Xavier Worthy. So Tyler's comment is looking back at last year's games, Card missed so many potential TD. And I don't think it was just Hudson Card. I think Casey Thompson missed a lot of wide open receivers running down the seam. I believe with Quinn at the helm, more of those throws than not are going to be converted for touchdowns. And that's what I wholeheartedly agree. He's able to take something off the ball when he needs to, with receivers going across the middle, touch throws to the outside. He can throw from hash mark to hash mark and then hit guys down the seam. He is a very accurate passer. I think he'll be somewhere about 68 to 70% completion percentage. I think he'll be somewhere around 35 touchdowns. It's just that interception number. I think it's going to be around 1 per game, so probably 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, with somewhere between 68 and 72% completion percentage, because he is accurate. Like I say, you just got to know what the play is giving him through his progressions, pre-snap, and hit the right guys. But yeah, I totally agree with your comment, Tyler. I think some of those throws that were missed last year will be hits, and that's what people see in Quinn Ewers, and that's why they're excited for him to be the starting quarterback of the University of Texas. And welcome to the Inner Circle, Thomas McDade.
Wow.
Your thoughts Your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on this, on accuracy, he's definitely, it's going to be hard to be 2008, 2009 Colt McCoy, Arkansas accurate. That I called Jeremy the other night. I rarely watch LHN unless it's something that's the present, right? Or I'll watch women's volleyball. I may throw on some soccer, softball, other sports, right? But I happened to turn on LHN the other night because I thought the volleyball team was playing, I think it was Wednesday night. And actually, I think they played last night. I'm not sure, but Wednesday night. And I said, damn, Jeremy, I was like, how do we get a Colt McCoy accurate quarterback, man? This dude was like 14 for 16. And it's like no ball got close to not being completed. Hell, I don't even remember seeing the two incompletions. They were probably that close to being completed. But then he ran like 3 touchdowns in on his own during that game. And it was
crazy good.
It was crazy, man. His accuracy was crazy. You hope that Quinn Ewers can get to that point where he's throwing dimes like Colt McCoy was. But you got to think about it. Colt McCoy held the record until I think 2019 when Joe Burrow actually beat him by like point something as far as best percentage thrower in or accuracy in college football. That's crazy.
And you just don't see it while they're here, right? I mean, I knew he was a dang good quarterback, but numbers like that, I knew his winning percentage was very, very high. Like had one of the highest winning percentages when he left, if I'm not mistaken. And then he got passed up by the Boise State quarterback, Kellen Moore. He was a winner. And like I told Clint back then, Shipley and Cosby were always open. And before that, there's always been great receivers, through Vince and through Colt, there was always great receivers. And I really think this receiving group has potential to be right there with them. Like I said, I think especially Xavier Worthy, he's always going to be open. The way he runs routes and the way he's able to separate at the top of his route. And then you got to take advantage of guys like JT Sanders. Unfortunately, Isaiah Nair went out, or that was another, chess piece that you had the wingspan of a 6'3", 215-pound athletic guy that go up and catch footballs the way he did. But I think there's still some of that left in this program with Troy O'Meara, and if Jai Hall comes back from suspension, you have that ability to get the tall receivers. Again, JT Sanders, Bijan out of the backfield. I think his completion percentage has a chance to be that as good as I said it was going to be because of the receivers that he has and their ability to separate. And please hit that like button. Kansas is asking for it. She asked for it, I think, more than once now. Please give the lady what she wants. Hit that like button. We really, really appreciate it. Not sure how many likes, how many folks are in here right now, but would really appreciate for everyone that's in here to hit that like button if you haven't.
94. We got 94 people in here currently.
Nice.
It's nice we can go a little extra long today since we started a little early, right? Make sure I got enough Dr. Pepper in my cup here. I want to bring up 2 things real quick.
Quarter of a bottle of water here.
What do you guys think about, the Bianco, Director of Communications, announcing Ewers the starter and not? I like how you use the emoji for Sark. That's nice. I like it, Steve. That's really, really cool. Dislike it a lot, and we actually talked about that. And we'll kind of go back to it real quick and kind of answer it. I think if he knew the starting quarterback was today at 2:00 or just today, and I'm pretty sure he knew yesterday with no practice that was going on. He had the media members in front of him. I think Sark should have answered that question yesterday. Bottom line, I don't think, and Josh Young's talking about delegating to the communications director. And I'd have to go back and look, and I'm just going to name a couple of coaches here. Nick Saban. I'm going to say Jimbo Fisher. I'm going to say probably Kirby Smart and a whole host of other quarterbacks or host of coaches are probably going to name their number 1 starter if they had a competition going on. And I don't beat up Steve Sarkisian very much, but I think it was a bad decision to have his director of communications, or Sid, whatever you want to call this guy, name his starting quarterback for the season. I know he probably didn't want to take questions about it today, and I think it may be that Twitter's shit that was happening yesterday, talking about Hudson Card being the quarterback. He needed to get rid of that smoke, squash that shit, and pour water on the fire, knowing who he's going to pick at that point. So we jumped up to 108 people, Jeremy.
But folks will ask you, I think somebody like Mahal will ask you if he leaked that information, purposefully. Was he cleaning up? Because you're talking about why he had to make the announcement today is clean up what yesterday was. Well, he's asking if that information was leaked by the program itself to reporters and then retracted. I don't really know if the coaching staff would purposely leak bad information to the press and then know they'd have to cover it up the day later. I don't think it was on purpose. I don't think boosters got involved. And that's where I'll leave it with Paul's questions. I think we talked about it. I just think it was bad sourcing. That gave you information. If it was leaked, then because people are saying that it's kind of like what Saban would do, dump some rat poison to the media, let them take it, produce it, and then make them look like they didn't know what they were talking about to begin with. But I don't know that his announcement today through John Bianco was in an effort to squash that stuff. But like Clint said, he briefed the media yesterday at 4:00 in the afternoon, saying that he had an idea of who the quarterback was and would announce it soon. And then today at 2:00 in the afternoon, I don't know what might have changed because there was no true practice because they're kind of letting the guys be off their feet because there's a scrimmage tomorrow. What might have changed between last night and Tuesday or today at 2 that made him announce it through John Bianco. But,
I'm telling
like I said,
you,
I thought it was weird. I'm not mad at him, but I thought it was weird.
I think D-Train's right, man. He's really close with Saban. I think him and Saban are really, really close, like really close. I think, and I don't think Saban has a lot of people that are really close to him, but I think Steve Sarkisian and him have a really good relationship, right? I think he's going to take some of these Saban-isms from, I don't know if that's what you can call them, Saban-isms, from Saban's, the way that Saban coaches, the way that Saban deals with the media, the way that Saban puts out information. I think you're going to see that from Steve Sarkisian because he's kind of learned from him over the last couple of years on how to do things. I think, to me, it was weird when he put his two coordinators out there at the beginning of fall camp. I didn't expect that because he's one of these guys where he's not going to allow his coordinators, just like Saban doesn't, to speak to the media during the football season. And that may be the last time you hear from him until next year sometime, or maybe a bowl game, whatever comes first. Hopefully a bowl game. What else we got here? Jeremy got a text message. I don't know what's going on here.
From production.
Oh, that ain't good. What incentive does anyone on the inside have to give information to reporters? I think they're compensated. Again, I have no clue. It's easy. So you're talking about the sites actually paying these sources monies to give them insider information. Hell, I don't know. I don't know the inner workings of that stuff. I know that, and Jeremy kind of brought this up earlier, that we know families, we know players, we know individuals that we could individually reach out to and DM on Twitter and come back and say, we got sourced information, right? But we don't, like Jeremy said, we don't have to be first to the punch when it comes to putting out information. So unlike these paid sites where they get paid to do it, we're not getting paid to do it. So we don't feel like we need to necessarily say, okay, boom, we're first to, we have our source. We're first to put out this information. Because one, if you're wrong, there's a lot of backfire behind that. But you can't always be right either. So they're almost caught in a catch-22 because stuff changes all the time. And, they put something out and then the coach decides to do something else. Then you look like you're wrong. You don't have really good sources. And then people kind of stray away from your information. Thank goodness we don't have to deal with that. If I ever find out about, somebody's injury that's going to be shorter than longer because we have a relationship with, a family member or the actual football player themselves, I don't mind putting that out there because it's coming directly from someone close to that situation. So, but as far as like who's going to start at this position, probably not.
Hey, that's K-Horn. That's exactly what we want to do. But again, when the news cycle changes in 24 hours from one quarterback to the other, the guy you've been promoting or talking about you feel is the best, gives the team the best opportunity to win, gets the job. That's all I want to do is talk football. We kind of covered this in the middle part of the show, what we believe Quinn Ewers brings to the team as far as accuracy, deep ball threat, stretching the field with the width and the length, and he's always got 5. I just feel like the ceiling is higher than Hudson Card, but then the floor is probably higher than Hudson Card at the same time. And I just think this football team wanted it to be him. I think this fan base obviously wanted it to be him. Again, we sent out a poll yesterday. Who's QB1, number 1, number 3, or number 6? It included Malik Murphy. Came back 78% to Quinn Ewers, 11% Malik Murphy, and 11% Hudson Card. Clint said it was going to be a landslide when I dropped it. He was absolutely correct. But so we'd love nothing better than to talk football, and we still owe you a quarterback position preview along with defensive backs. I guarantee you this QB position preview is going to be Quinn Ewers centric. I'll try to get a YouTube, what do they call it? YouTube special package that they offer that allows me to clip some videos. I'll try to clip some huddle film, some highlights of Quinn Ewers, and specifically talk about what I think he can deliver to this offense and why Sark chose him over Hudson Card.
Sports Doctor said, I imagine Sark used your poll to make his decision.
I don't think he did that. I don't think he cares. Again, he gets paid by the university to make decisions based upon what will allow his football team to win games, compete for Big 12 championships, and get this program to where we all want it to be. He's not using Texas Football Talks poll to choose a quarterback. I hope not, because if he's using my poll,
no more giggling from me.
Yeah, stop. Roger Lancaster became a YouTube member to the Inner Circle. Really appreciate you, Roger, for your membership. It's been a hot show for memberships. We really, really, really appreciate all you guys who continue to support this channel day in, day out, week in, week out, season in, season out. Really appreciate you, Roger. Thank you so much.
Gorn here said, I was freaking out last night. I come here for real talk. Appreciate it, man. Absolutely, man. It's about talking ball, but obviously we got to kind of cover the whole news situation on how this stuff happens and where it goes. But, man, you got me excited, Corn, man. He's like, let's talk football. And you just realize, we're 2 Saturdays away? Like,
that's why I said the timing had to be today or after scrimmage too. It either had to be tomorrow or today because, again, you're putting in game plans starting next Monday, right? Not this Monday, but next Monday, really next Sunday, you start game planning for ULM, like legit game planning. And so, again, if you want to start dividing those reps up truly between first team and second team, you want to stop the smoke and mirrors of 50-50, snap counts, this guy working with ones, this guy switching out and working with the ones and twos. Like, it had to be this weekend. And so now that he's named, I anticipate that we will hear, and somebody was saying this a little bit earlier, the shiniest practice report or the shiniest scrimmage report coming out of UT tomorrow. Quinn Ewers was, like you said, let's say 18 for 20, 6 touchdowns. I'm kind of exaggerating, but everything's going to be burnt orange glasses starting tomorrow because I pretty much can name. I was telling Clint, I can name. I feel like the starting 11 now on offense, minus the third receiver. I feel like in a 12 personnel type, formation. Bijan, the 2 tight ends being Billingsley and Sanders, no surprise. Left tackle Kelvin Banks, left guard Hayden Connor, center Jake Majors, right guard Cole Hudson, and then my right tackle. I think with the 3 guys they pushed out there today, doing the media availability, I'm pretty sure Coburn's going to be a starter, Sanders is going to be a starter, and Jones is going to be your right tackle. And then the defensive front, I have a pretty good idea of where that's going to. We'll probably do a live later on after the scrimmage to discuss 2 deep, what we project the 2 deep to be for University of Louisiana Monroe, because I feel like we have a good idea of where it's at right now.
Jeremy Clinton, y'all tried some of Bijan Mustardson. Heard it makes the Texas Dogs gills pretty smooth, man. They say it tastes like a touchdown in your mouth. I don't know what that is, but from a marketing standpoint, I don't know if I would probably put that in quotes down at the bottom of things. Tastes like a touchdown in your mouth, especially with what's happening up in Oklahoma and Brent Venables' situation. Drinking out of a water hose situation. But yeah, if they sell it by local HEB here in San Antonio, I'm not even know where they sell that. I think it's probably just going to be some local place in Austin. But if y'all figure out where it's at, please let us know, man. I'll go try some Bijan. Absolutely.
Josh already ordered some. He said he ordered some earlier, so obviously you can get it online because there ain't no grocery store in Olathe, Kansas, that where you could get probably B. John's mustard. So I guess you can get it online. So yeah, I'd probably buy it, have it on here, promo it, show it off.
So Corey Peacock, what's the word on Roschon's ankle? I can tell you that that after our last live, if you go look at the Dorian, Roschon's brother, actually, after our last live, he may be in here tonight. Listens to us quite frequently. He put in the comments last time that that he's going to be back sooner than later. Obviously, you don't try to be intrusive on that, but I get he wasn't wearing a boot. I think in the open practice, so that's a good thing. Probably just going to. I think Steve Sarkisian said none of these guys are going to work through. I think Ja'Day Barron, Roschon Johnson, Troy Amiri. There's going to be quite a few of these guys that aren't going to practice in scrimmage too. He's going to give these guys time to rest because he knows what he gets from the guys that are currently injured. And he gives, somebody like Jalen Gilbo an opportunity to play that nickel back, man. I'm telling you, Jalen Gilbo is probably going to wind up starting at some position in the defensive backfield, and it may be before Big 12 play starts. It really might be before Big 12 play starts. And I was right on Quinn Ewers being named the quarterback after scrimmage 1. I think I'm going to be right on Jalen Gilbo starting at one of those defensive back positions before Big 12 play.
I don't know if you can see this, but we wrote defensive backs probably 2 weeks ago, and under Deshaun Jameson and Ryan Watts is Jalen Gilbo. We felt for a long time with them going to press man coverage and wanting to put hands on receivers off the line of scrimmage. I get closer to my mic because I'm messing around here. We've always felt like he had the perfect body and perfect game to play press man coverage, and felt like he was going to be one to be dealt with if they went with that kind of coverage scheme. And like I say, we wrote this about 3 weeks ago, and behind Deshaun Jameson, Ryan Watts is Jalen Gilbo as the third corner on this team. We'll see if it comes to fruition. But like I said, he's everything you want in a press man cover corner. He'll put his hands on, especially in the slot in that star position, because he's very physical. Got that Southeastern Port Arthur background that's always done really, really well for the University of Texas. Put this thing back up here.
Yeah, put that thing back up there. I couldn't read what you were putting up there, man.
It says Deshaun Jameson, Ryan Watts, Jalen Gilbo, Ja'Day Barron. I kind of ranked the corners that I felt like were going to contribute to the University of Texas this year in order.
They talking about Quinn went 8 for 8 in the red zone. I'm not sure.
7 for 7 up here. Somebody wrote he went 7 for 7. Steve Sexton said he went 7 for 7 yesterday in the road zone. No, it's yesterday. They weren't doing anything today.
Last night. Okay.
Yeah.
Josh said he bought his online. Tyler just said Coburn. Yeah, I started listening to the press conference. I mean the media availability for Keandre today. Jatavian Sanders was all of that. I didn't get through it yet.
Christian Jones.
Yeah, I didn't get through it, but Keandre Coburn says the best they've looked since he's been at the University of Texas. Clint's going to say this back. The proof is in the pudding, right? The proof is show me now. You know what I'm saying? Because we've heard, and he said it actually in the beginning of his presser, his media availability, that I know y'all have heard me say this over and over and over again.
He
right?
did say that.
He did say that. So they know, just like we know, that in order to prove themselves right or prove us wrong, however they want to look at it, they have to show it on the football field this year. But he's saying that defensive line, and Sarkisian came out and said it yesterday in his press conference, that one of the positions he feels really, really good at is that interior defensive lineman, or interior defensive line group. And I think it's important because that interior defensive line group is going to be able to push the pocket back to make those quarterbacks uncomfortable, to give your guys that are on the outside an ability to be able to rush.
And I was surprised Keandre had to say that, because I listened to the interview that he like you chronicled, he did say it's the best defense he feels like he's been a part of at the University of Texas. But he was talking about interior linemen getting to the quarterback. That tells me that they're not going to play that hug the center, hold the line type deal. They're looking to penetrate gaps. And he talked about Byron Murphy being the best player on the defense, and he talked about Broughton's quick twitch and his speed off the ball. So I think they're going to be doing a lot of things, shooting gaps this year. I don't think you're going to see them lined up over man on man, hat on hat with the offensive lineman. I think they're going to be in the gaps. They're going to be shading, and they're going to be trying to get off the ball and put pressure. Like I said, even if it's a run play, I want to have that running back having to elude defensive tackles and threes in the backfield or at the line of scrimmage. I don't want the first time they're having to make a move is downfield at the second level, trying to elude a linebacker or breaking a tackle, because I think that's where Steve Sarkisian talked about it yesterday. He said we don't have a chance to tackle as much as we'd like to in the summer in the fall because we don't want our guys getting hurt. We saw what happened in the scrimmage. Guys get hurt. But what I will tell you is around the football now there's more white hats. Like, we are getting to the football. We're getting in a position to where if one guy was to miss a tackle, I've got 3 or 4 hats around to solidify and put that running back or receiver or tight end on the ground. So he feels a lot better about the tackling. Like you said, Keandre understands what we've been talking about for months about this defense is going to hinge on the defensive line. Again, we feel solid with the backers. We feel like Jalen Ford and Diamante Tucker-Dorsey, their inclusion in the system, their growth is going to allow DeMarvin to do what he wants to, move down the line of scrimmage or change some things and disguise some things with him to extenuate his skill set. We feel like they got 5 defensive backs in the backfield that can cover receivers, and we feel like Anthony Cook is a hell of a tackler at safety along with Jaron Thompson. It's all going to depend on that defensive line, and I like the fact that they have a different mindset because, again, this was one of those position groups, I think, that sulked on the sidelines. That was one of those groups that if things started heading downhill, and I think Stephen talked about this on Tuesday, when things started going downhill, it was body language. And a guy like Keandre Coburn, who's in his 5th year at the University of Texas, started a lot, has played a lot, needs to change his mentality and be more productive on the football field. And I know he knows that. But I think these guys are going to set the tone for this defense because I feel really good about the back end. I feel really good about the linebacker core. Just really excited to see what this defensive line can do.
I just want to say something. Candace, she brought up a good point, man. To me, Keandre Coburn looked different today. I don't know what it is. Maybe because we've watched these guys grow, from 2018 to where they are now. 5 years in the system, you're obviously going to look more mature or more grown. But if you go back and look at, I'll just bring out a couple of guys, man. Anthony Cook, DeMarvin Overshown, and Keandre Coburn. If you go watch their media availabilities today versus where they were at media availabilities this year versus where they were at last year, you see different younger adults, to me, maturity level. But they also look different physically, which is, what you want to see, obviously, in a strength conditioning program over so many years. You want to be able to see that. But they look much different, and they sound much different, If y'all want to get really hyped up, go back and watch last year's – watch any game you want to be honest with you. You can watch any game you want to. If you want to feel really good about safety, go back and watch Anthony Cook last year and his ability to get downhill and make tackles. He is probably one of the best tacklers I have seen at the University of Texas in probably, I don't know, long time. He is a sure tackler. There's not a tackle that I honestly did not see. I think I've seen him miss one tackle, and I think the entire year he had less than 5 missed tackles in all the opportunities he had. It is crazy. His numbers are off the chart. So if you want to feel really good about safety, and a safety that can come down and tackle, but a safety that can also cover because he played corner and nickel, feel really good about Cook. I'm telling you, his NFL, I think his NFL trajectory is going to go off the charts this year because I think he has everything that a NFL team would want to see in a safety. I'm telling you, it's crazy to watch this guy. Even when it's bad, even when the defense is bad, Anthony Cook shows up at the right times for the defense.
My thought on Anthony Cook, and we talked to him for 30, 45 minutes one day at the High Five for the Burn Orange Heroes thing. And he's excited about playing safety because he wants to take a leadership role. He wants to be able to call the defense. He wants to be able to help the slot and the boundary corners get in the right position. But he is a safety and a middle. He's a middle linebacker in a safety's body. like you said, pick any game you want to go to. Watch Anthony Cook when he loves to be around the line of scrimmage. He loves to be within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, and he likes to not have a receiver on his side because that gives him free reign to do whatever he wants to do. And like you said, he's a heat-seeking missile. He's 6'1" and 195 pounds, I think, this year. He might have been a little slighter, but he is a middle linebacker in a safety spot, and he loves to make contact, and he loves his new role. And I really, really, like you said, I think he's going to flourish this year, being that safety, being in that new position.
I know I've had this comment up for a while. David Williams, Jahdae Barron, Jalen Gilbo at nickel remind me of Terrell Brown and Aaron Ross at the field corner position on the 2005 championship team. They were both, but interchangeable. These guys – I went back and watched Jahdae Barron tape too, and you get it sporadically through last season. I don't think teams wanted to throw at Jahdae Barron. Like he would come in, like Jameson would get, or I think it was I think Thompson got hurt multiple times last year and had to come out. I think he had a concussion at one point during one football game, but he would get injured. Then the first person they would throw in there at John Thompson's spot was Jahdae Barron, and as soon as Jahdae Barron got in there, man, it was like. They didn't throw to his side. And I think having someone like Jalen Gilbo and Jahdae Barron, who I think are both physical cornerbacks, they can come up in man press, but at the same time they can bail if necessary. I think our defensive backfield is changing for the better really fast. There's a reason that Jahdae Barron was wanted by Oregon in the offseason. If y'all don't remember that, they were trying to press him for an NIL deal to go to Oregon. Look at your head coach at Oregon. So that tells you what people think about Jahdae Barron and try to getting him to go play defense somewhere else other than the University of Texas.
This evolved out of a Quinn Ewers show to just talking ball, and I dig it. So I want to talk to Corey real quick. It doesn't matter who starts, just need to push from up front, whoever it is. And I agree. Like I said, when I had my 3-down lineman look the other day, I felt like my first 3 – I think they were Collins. I had Murphy in there, and I want to say, Jomo, and then the next 3 were Coburn. Just going off a whim here. Coburn, Jomo. I already talked about him, but Sweat. Basically, my three starters were as deep as my 3 second team guys, and I just want to be able to rotate them. It's something Steve Sarkisian said yesterday. Was the exact same thing is I feel really good about the depth I have at the interior line. And again, I've been sour on them. If you go back and watch our defensive line preview, production. Yes, they have been in the program for many years. They haven't been as productive as I'd like them to be. Again, that's why we were calling for Murphy to start. We were talking about moving Alfred Collins from in back into 3, just a lot of stuff when we talked about defensive line. And it's good to hear from Coach Sarkisian that this is a spot on the football team currently that he feels comfortable with. Again, he said that the tight end was deep, has significantly improved from last year. He talked about the running back room, but we already knew how good they were. And so good comments to hear. And like I said, it all starts up front for me.
Yeah, Anthony Cook could run a consistent 4.5 40. He would be the best safety in the conference. His lack of speed is a factor. His instincts make up for his lack of speed, but it needs to be faster. I agree, man. I don't know what he runs 4.5. I don't know what his actual time is. I'd like to get some miles per hour on him, but his football IQ and his instincts make up for maybe his lack of elite speed. I think his IQ in the way that he's able to be instinctive, not have a false step, because I think that slows a lot of people down. You can be as fast as you want to, right, at a safety position or a linebacker, but if you take a false step, now it's put you a damn half a second behind the guy that may be a half a second or second slower than you. But I think it comes down to football speed and having to identify and move downhill versus second guessing yourself. And being in PK's defense for a second year and playing at a different position, he's had an opportunity to play corner, nickel, and safety. And I think safety is going to be his best position. He played a hell of a nickel last year. He's the best defensive back we had, bar none, last year.
Yeah, a lot of comments about Ethan Burke. Michigan fans were calling Ethan Burke the next Aiden Hudson. He becomes half of that. He's going to be a good player. Again, I really love Ethan Burke's film, and then Paul coming back with more on Ethan Burke. Really loved his film. It's just the weight. he's a speed demon off the edge. And I just don't know how strong he is. And again, we haven't had any ability to see anything other but one open practice that came out Tuesday. But he's one of those guys I'm really interested to see get playing time against ULM. Vernon Broughton the same way. A guy who's been in the program for a couple of years, hadn't had a whole lot of snaps at defensive tackle, but Keandre Coburn called him out by name today and talked about his quickness off the ball. So this defensive line, I'm going to be paying very close attention to, along with the offensive line against ULM.
Candace, she said, Clinton, I know you and Jeremy don't agree with me. Call me out at school. I think she's talking about Keandre Coburn. She loves her some Keandre Coburn.
She does.
And it's not that I don't like Keandre Coburn, Candace. It's
12 tackles in 12 games.
Let's go through this. You've been in the system since 2018, right? Or you've been in on the 40 acres since 2018. You're part of that 2018 class. And I get that scheme probably doesn't allow you to tackle last year. You played in 12 games, 389 snaps, and you had 12 tackles. And I believe that there's more, just like every other position. Let's talk about Hudson Card versus Quinn Ewers, right? When you're equal to the same person that may be older than you, has more experience than you, you have to play the guy that's got more upside. And I think every comment that's come from player, coach, Keandre Coburn himself, about Byron Murphy tells you exactly who is going to make an impact. I'm not saying that Keandre Coburn is not going to have better numbers than he did last year, especially if the scheme changes allow these guys to get interior pressure to the quarterback and allow them to make more tackles. What I'm saying is that he has to show Clint, and I think Jeremy, more than what he showed us over the last couple of years at that position.
Absolutely.
I try to be respectful to every player. You know what I'm saying?
We're not dogging them. We're just saying what stats tell us. In 12 tackles in 12 games, limited quarterback pressures. The team had a havoc rate of 10%, pressure rate of 20%. It just has to get better. And you can't rely on pressure off the perimeter. You can't rely on pressures out of blitz packages. You have to be – and that's why Pete Kwiatkowski, people want to call him a smart aleck for what he said about what pass rush, but he was being honest. 20 sacks in 12 games. 9 of those were in 3 games when you're talking about Rice, Louisiana, and Oklahoma. And then after that, it was less than 1 sack per game. So, to me, it starts up front. Again, you don't want to have to depend on your linebackers and blitz packages to get to the quarterback. You want to have that 4-man rush, be able to disrupt the quarter. And to me, it's not all about sacks. It's about pressure. And pressure up the middle in the quarterback space, making him step out of the pocket, making him move right, making him move left, getting him off his timing with the receivers. And like Clint said, we just have to see it. We want it to be true. We definitely want him to be great. We definitely want him to be great.
We need him to be great because we need some guys to go off to the NFL. That's what we need. We need every one of these players that have not performed, I'm not going to say underperformed, have not performed to the level in which we expect them to perform to be great this year, because we need guys to be selected in the NFL draft. We need guys to be selected in the NFL draft.
Hit that like button. And I think, did Candace not ask for us to call her out?
I don't know. She's been saying this since spring, and y'all gave me some ish. She's laughing. We'll talk to Candace in the DMs after this show on Twitter. Yeah.
Kickers talk.
I'm going to tell you. If you didn't hear the beginning of the show, I'm going to tell you what I think about the kickers. Last night, we were uproar about who the starting quarterback was going to be at the University of Texas. Hudson Card was supposedly the quarterback last night, QB1. Clint went to bed last night not thinking about having a panic attack because Quinn Ewers wasn't named the quarterback. I was having a panic attack because you had heard that your kickers were 3 for 7 without fans in an open practice on Tuesday night. That's what I was panicking about, because I know Steve Sarkisian, regardless of what quarterback he has, is going to be able to put up points. But these kickers, there's going to be close games, and you got to be able to hope that you can You got to hope that your kicker gives you more than a 50% chance of winning a game-winning field goal when the time comes. And I don't know if we're there yet. I'm a little nervous. That's what made me nervous. Not Hudson Card being named the quarterback. What the hell are we going to do with this damn quarterback? I mean, with the damn kicking situation. So there's my thoughts on the kickers.
Can I go back to defensive line real quick? Because I really like this comment by Corey. I don't know that I agree with it 100%. Iron sharpens iron, and Keandre hasn't had a whole lot of iron to sharpen him. Came in as an Under Armour All-American, probably a top 100 player in the country, if I don't remember correctly. I know he was good enough to be an Under Armour All-American. Those invites don't go out to every high school senior. You got to be pretty up there in the recruiting rankings. My favorite player as far as in the front seven out of that recruiting class. But I don't know if you can attribute his lack of production, his lack of growth since 2019, because he's 18 class, so his first year at Texas was 2019, off of the practice reps that he gets against his own team. There's a whole lot of time spent between end of season and spring ball, between the end of spring ball and summer camp, fall camp, that you have to work on your game. You have to get stronger. You have to get faster. So I will say if you're relying on practice reps and competition from your teammates to make you better, I just don't know how much better you're going to get as a football player to reach your full potential. I think a lot of that work is done in the weight room. A lot of that work is done with trainers or training sessions. And again, yes, do I think you can get significantly better by getting your butt kicked every day by a equal to or greater than athlete? Absolutely. I think there's growth in that. But if you're dependent upon your teammates to make you better, then I just don't know if that's the full picture of growth, potential, and then ultimately success on the football field.
All right. So I'm gonna tell you Paul
Makes
Maloney's.
sense?
Yeah. I'm gonna give you Paul Maloney's thoughts on special teams real quick. Okay. Special teams is going to be stressful this year. Can y'all skip the special teams breakdown, please? It stresses them out, man. I'm telling you that special teams, when you hear that makes me nervous. Really makes me nervous. And I think Corey White had a follow up. Not 100% sure, but you really think he had put not really, but you really think he had to put much work into practice. I think development comes outside of just practice yourself. I think you have spots outside of spring practice and fall camp to go to some of the best training places, in the country, probably right there in Austin or Houston, where he's, there's ample opportunity. I think when it comes to, but I believe iron sharpens iron. Absolutely not. Absolutely. I think somebody going up against Kelvin Banks for 3 years is going to be a little bit better than somebody going up against, an offensive
random left tackle.
A random left tackle that's been in the program for 5 years, but his upside is he's met his ceiling, to say the least. And his ceiling was met at 3, not at 5. And he hadn't got any better. I think absolutely right. I believe that players get better when they're going against better competition. Absolutely, each and every day.
I'll address the Jai Hall because we haven't in this show. We probably haven't for the past week. When the news initially came out, we addressed it. We were happy that he didn't get removed from the team, that he, there's indefinite suspension would be okay. Since then, Steve Sarkisian said they're continuing to work with him and his family. And in my mind, Corey, his timeline for return really doesn't matter to me as long as when he comes back that he's ready to focus on those things we talked about, going to class on time, taking care of his work in school, showing the film sessions and being an active teammate and member of the team. Because, again, nobody's pulling for a Jai Hall like his teammates, like the coaches, like we are to have success. So my thought is whenever he comes back, whenever that circumstance is, whether it's before ULM, whether it's if they're suspending him for one game and it's against Alabama, I just want him to come back ready to contribute and do well. That's it.
Yeah, can't add anything to that. Maybe 3-game suspension. You come back, Big 12 with the Big 12 game 4.
Yeah,
Yeah, but again, speculation
That's
is
coach
yeah, it's coach, yeah.
player decision.
Family,
you know what
family
I mean?
decision. Yeah. So,
That's
like Jimmy
it.
said, I think it's important that he just comes back and he's ready to prove himself with his teammates and on the field and doing what he needs to be a wide receiver here at the University of Texas. No doubt he's talented as hell. He was the number one wide receiver coming out of, according to On3 ranks, the same time that I think Xavier was number 2 or 3 in the country. So the talent is there. You've seen it at Alabama. You've seen it in national championship game. Hell, you've seen it in the spring game there at Alabama. So the talent is there. We just need to make sure that he comes back, and he's ready to play.
I think all these guys are going to contribute. They're asking about Casey Kane. They're asking about Savion Red. They're asking about Brennan Thompson. I think all these guys are going to contribute. Again, just not having practice availability. Again, I really don't know. We know what we read. We know what you guys read. We try to have and we know what these guys were coming to the program. Again, Savion Red, they're Devin Duvernay starter kit. Brennan Thompson, 10-2, 100 meters. Get him out on the edge. Let him do his thing. Casey Kane, again, size, 6'3", 210 pounds, making plays in practice. Excited about all of them. Don't know exactly what impact they're going to make. I'm hearing Casey's probably going to be that third guy, along with the guys we mentioned before, Savion Red, Brennan Thompson. They're all going to see playing time against ULM, kind of like Xavier Worthy. They're going to get their opportunities to shine. And if they shine, they're going to see the field. The best players are going to play regardless of classification. But I'm excited to see all three of them work once the games start for real.
Tariq Milton, I think is going to I think he's going to wind up being your third wide receiver.
I think so too.
And I think that Sark trusts that he can play all three positions like he needs to. And these guys can rotate in between positions, and they can rotate in and out of X, Y, and that slot that he needs.
Is that it? Is that the third receiver spot in your mind right now?
To me, yeah.
All being suspended.
Mm-hmm.
Is Tariq Milton and Casey Kane?
Yep. That's who I would have it as. Yeah. So I think Casey Kane gives you that long speed, big guy. Hey, we're going to go deep. But I think Tariq Milton gives you a safety blanket like you would see in a Jatavian Sanders. He's been in the Big 12. Again, Steve Sarkisian says he's probably, he came in, he's smart. He understands the offense. He's been a wide receiver in the Big 12 for, since
2019?
Yeah.
19 was when he was
2018 is when he started. And if you go back and look at his numbers in 2018, he had 34 receptions for 4. He was 13 All Big 12, by the way. Punt returner. But he was second on the team in receiving at 417 yards, 34 receptions, averaged 12.3 yards per catch in that year. So, which has been the 10th best season clip in their school's history. So I think he just gives you that safety blanket. So right now I see it is really Jordan Whittington, Xavier Worthy, Tariq Milton, and then Casey Kane gives you that long build that you were looking for in Isaiah Nair to go down there and get those 50-50 balls that are necessary. Guy from Louisiana, dude, you can't go wrong getting guys from Louisiana, and that's where Casey Kane's from. So
love it.
Yeah.
You ready to call this one?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Hour and 48
I'm getting hoarse,
minutes,
man. I'm getting hoarse. I'm out of water. I'm on my second water.
Hell,
it started out as a Quinn Ewers show and
I ran out of Dr.
turned into us just talking ball.
Yeah.
Really, really appreciate all you guys that came in here. Really appreciate all the new members we were able to get. Really appreciate you guys jumping in here. Again, Friday at 5 is weird. Kind of like Saturday morning show last week, but we'll come out all hours of the day, all days of the week. Really, really, really appreciate you guys' interaction with us. When we hopped on here, we knew we were going at the same time as Stephen Nagati, our friend at Fanatic Perspective. So really didn't know what kind of turnout we'd get because he's a heck of a lot more popular than we are. But felt like we had moved it from 7 to 5. We were just going to go with it. And really appreciate you guys joining the channel. Please hit the like button before you leave. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not. We really thank those new Inner Circle members. Again, we'll send out an email or a community post for the members on Sunday, trying to catch you up on what we have working this week. Did get in touch with Rod Babers. We do have another show with Rod coming up soon. We're going to be on Locked On Longhorns tomorrow. Don't have a time and date. Roger says when he gets back in town, he gets settled from his vacation that he was on, that we're going to get back together. Locked On Longhorns tape tomorrow, so be looking for us on their channel. And then we still your defensive back position previews. Like I said, not sure what we're going to do now with the cornerbacks or quarterbacks. Now that Quinn has been named the starter, but I'm sure we'll do something. But really appreciate you guys coming in and hanging out with us.
A good thing about having Rod Babers on, man. Me and Jeremy just.
It's a night off.
It's not off for us. We just
I don't have to drink so much water.
At zero. We just, hey, Rod, what do you want to tell us about this, man? And it is just, hey, so 5 brand new members tonight. I just want to go over a couple of things real quick before we get off here. We got 5 brand new members tonight. That's a lot, man, and we really definitely appreciate that. Subscriber numbers over the last. I'll give you some subscriber numbers over the last 90 days. Last 90 days, we have had about 350 subscribers over the last 90 days. And we need 147 more subscribers. I think 157. Let me see. I may be wrong. My math may be wrong. 156 subscribers to reach our 4,000 mark before the beginning of the season. So tell somebody you know to subscribe to our channel. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Please hit that like button. Go ahead, Joey.
No, the slogan still sticks. 4K by opening day, and if we hit 4K, we'll probably move the goalposts a little bit to the right. So really appreciate you guys. Again, like Clint said, this is a homegrown channel. If you know a Texas Longhorn fan that doesn't know about Texas football talk, please let us know. Please let them know. And really appreciate you guys joining. If you want to let them know exactly what comes with the membership, that'd be great.
Yeah, need to figure out what the membership deal is. Y'all too modest, don't expand on it enough. So what's going to happen is once you become a member, I think it's $4.99 a month. You'll have access to when we put out videos, you'll get those usually a day before. Jeremy's going to do 2 live in-game with video shows Alabama and Oklahoma. Then you'll have all in-game live chats with me and Jeremy during the season. So starting with ULM all the way until the end of the season, you'll do live game chats with that. We are also looking at doing live only member shows where we can get somebody maybe like a Rod Babers or a Derek Johnson just to come in and to kind of limit how many questions we have. Just invite members to that as well. Did I miss anything, Jeremy?
No, that's it. And then the emojis are always evolving. Again, we have every time we get hit a new landmark for members, Colleen's allowed to go in and make 3 more emojis. Again, I don't know what else we're going to be able to do. I know she wants to make one of me and Clint. Probably a Bijan emoji at some point. Probably a Xavier Worthy emoji. If they score a touchdown, we'll pop it up now. Quinn Ewers. I'm sure she'll have those 3 triplets emojis built. So, like I say, if you're in that in-game chat during the season and one of those scores a touchdown, you might see their emoji pop up or have the ability to use them. But yeah, just I don't know. It's ever evolving. The problem is with YouTube, if you change one aspect of it, you have to change the whole plan, and we don't want to have to do that because $4.99 we think is a reasonable price, and don't want to drive it any higher. Just trying to give those folks who do join as many possible things as we possibly can.
Josh, I'm going to do my best this weekend to figure out what is going on with your membership. Clint, if he has to call the YouTube people out in California himself, he's going to figure out what is going on with your membership. So if I'm calling the YouTube people, you may have to DM me your number, your telephone number. We're going to get on 3-way with the YouTube people to figure out what's going on with your membership. Okay, man. I cannot let you go any longer without agreeing in your emojis because you keep throwing up bear emojis up there or something. I don't know what's going on up there. But we're going honestly, I'm going to call YouTube this weekend to figure out what's going on with your membership, man. All right. That's the least customer service that me and Jeremy can do for you. Okay. How do you post emojis? The emojis actually come with the membership as well. Jeremy's wife, she's a hell of a graphic designer, right? I think it's graphic designer.
Yep. That's what she
really,
does.
really good work. She actually is contracted with the government, I think, doing something, but she's also our producer. She creates all the emojis. So Candace is trying to follow up with Joshua right now too. So we got Candace involved in our social, in our customer service situation now. She's trying to take care of them. We appreciate that, Candace. Thank you. How do you sign up? So if you go to the
the easiest way is go to our Texas, just search Texas Football Talk in YouTube, click on our channel. You'll see all of our videos. There'll be a join button there. I think there's also a join button actually inside the video itself, but it's hard to do from like an iPad or from a phone. You really got to hop on a computer. I think the easiest way to do it is through iPad, but go to our actual YouTube page where all our videos are posted. Click the join button, and then you're in.
You're in the inner circle. All right, that's it, man. I got to eat. Jeremy's got to eat. Came straight from work to do this. Threw on a shirt, and decided to do this show a little earlier tonight so we can go on to doing other things we need to on the weekend. Hell, if it's not raining outside, I may go cut the damn front yard so I don't only have to cut the backyard tomorrow before it gets too dark. All right, y'all have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I think we'll probably see you on Sunday for a live, depending, probably after the
Never
scrimmage.
know.
Never know. Hell, we may do it tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock in the morning. Coffee with Jeremy and Clint. So we appreciate you listening as always. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and we'll see you soon. Hook 'em.
Hook 'em.